Natasha from Haunted Auckland has called 0800 TodayFM. I love these people. How are you, Natasha, on this Weird Tingly Wednesday?
I'm great, Polly. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're part of the Haunted Auckland Facebook group, and you guys chat a lot about things that you've been through and things, you know, the adventures you've been on. How many other people are on there with you?
We usually have 5 main members that come along, yes. And then we have a couple of people who help out at events as well.
Right. Well, tell me, where did your paranormal story begin?
I had some weird experiences as a kid that I couldn't explain. And, so based on that, basically I'm an engineer, so I always want to know how stuff works. And if stuff doesn't work, I'm sort of perplexed, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I get answers. Yeah.
So how old were you when you had these experiences, and what kind of experiences were they?
I was pretty young. Probably the one that stood out to me was when one of our cats attacked a cat next door, and I was at a camp up in Snells Beach at the time, and apparently in my sleep, people were saying I was saying out their name and saying the cat's name and telling them to get off the roof. The cat's name was Sushi, and apparently our cat jumped off the roof and attacked the neighbour's cat, and then we found out that she had cancer, and we had to put her down, and obviously we had to pay money to fix the next door neighbour's cat. So it was a very odd experience because those are the days when you didn't have cell phones.
No.
You basically had to write to your parents. I was away for a week. I didn't find out until I got back from camp, and I was like, holy moly, what?
So you'd actually talked out loud in your sleep about the cats. People had heard you
on the roof.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, okay. And how old would you have been at that stage?
I think I was about 11. I think it was like Form 1 or Form 2 camp.
Yeah, okay. And what happened from then on? Many more experiences as a youngster?
Yeah, I used to see the odd shadow person around, which was interesting. But I wasn't ever afraid of it. Just sort of out the corner of the eye sort of type thing, like, oh, there's a person there, but they're not there, and they're all black, and very odd things like that. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting though? What I've learned is when you do have kind of connections, and I sort of vaguely do. I don't want to talk myself up, but you know, I've had experiences. I've never been scared.
No, not at the time.
No. It's
not until afterwards you sort of think about it, and you're kind of like, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So you had the experience with the cats. You had you saw shadow people. Then what happened from there?
I remember the night my grandfather died, and he was at Middlemore, and I was on the North Shore. I was only about 13, and my dad had gone to the hospital because basically it was the last call. And I remember being in my bedroom, and my bedroom going really, really cold, and around about 10 o'clock at night. And I heard someone walk up the stairs because my bedroom was upstairs, and it wasn't like a walk that my sister or my mum would do. It sort of sounded like a man. And my room was like really unusually cold because it was like the beginning of summer, and it was Auckland and humid.
Yeah,
so I went downstairs and I was talking to my mum, and I'm like, my room's really, really cold. Like, it's weird. And then we got a phone call that he actually passed away.
Do you know what, Natasha, and I've mentioned this to your other mates, is all of us have had grandparent experiences. And I wonder if just the age and the, I don't know if they get a free pass or something, like, you know, well, you know, a bit like Winston's gold card, you know, like, you've lived a long life. I'm going to let you go and just, you know, have a chat and go and stop it and see some people on your way to wherever you're going. But grandparents feature in this so much.
Yes. We did have a lot of his stuff in our house. So we had started to take all the things out of the house prior, because we knew that he was passing away. about a week ago. So we had a lot of items. Some were in my room, some were in my parents' bedroom, and some were in the computer room around the back. So I don't know if he was coming to check on his finances or something before he left, or his medals were in my parents' closet. So maybe he was just coming to check on things, making sure everything was all good. I'm not sure.
Or maybe he just wanted to see one of his favourite people in the world, and say bye.
Maybe.
Maybe. I find it really interesting that you're an engineer, because you meet people all the time who are, I've had people come up to me in Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, kind of wearing shawls with crystal balls, going, oh my God, I can see your aura, and I've thought, oh yeah, whatever. You're an engineer. So you're not somebody that is likely to be sucked into believing ooky spooky things just because you do like things to make sense, right?
That's correct, yeah. I like to figure things out. I like to work things out, see how things work. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't have an explanation, and that's why it's interesting.
How long have you been going out with Haunted Auckland and investigating?
I think it's been just over 2 years now.
Wow. Tell me, have you had any experiences where you've gone, okay, that was, I'm sure you have, but okay, that was weird, and what were they?
I have a good knack for putting my camera or recording equipment in places where you get weird things that we can't explain.
Yeah.
Probably the most recent weird experience, we did Freaky Franklin Frolics, Amy and I, with Ange from she's a small, medium rare, she's a medium.
Yeah.
So we went around a bunch of places around the Franklin district, around Auckland.
Yeah.
And one of the weirdest places we went to is the lookout at Glenbrook. So not the actual lookout, there's like a buffer of trees between the main road and the lookout car park, and it had a really, really weird vibe. And I had equipment malfunctioning. So I went back 3 days later with just my partner, and I took 3 different devices, and I managed to capture an EVP of, it sounded like a woman screaming, which was a bit disconcerting, but I managed to catch it on all 3 devices, because you can hear the steel mill at Glenbrook, you can hear like the infrasound and the rumbling of the mill and the trains, and this sound just came out of the blue, and it didn't sound like anything else, basically. That was a very...
The woman screaming.
Weird experience, yeah.
I have been told that Whenuapai Air Force Base is quite an unusual place, and a lot of people have said they've felt things there. Has that come up for you guys?
I'm not sure. We haven't actually done an investigation as far as I know. I don't think the Defence Force would actually let us on there, considering it's an active site.
Yeah.
Would like to go out there and have a look. If it is possible, but yeah. I mean, like some places you don't think anything weird will happen, and then you get a weird feeling, like you feel like someone is behind you or looking at you, and there's no one else there. And yeah, it's interesting to go into different places and feel like how different places feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys travel out of Auckland? Do you go to other cities?
Yes, we do. We do like to do the odd road trip. Recently, I didn't go, but 3 other team members went down to Dunedin. I didn't go because I just got back from ghost hunting on Norfolk Island with Amy and Tess. So, yeah, we had a trip to Norfolk Island, and we did a tour with the Hukamilish ghost hunters. So they're the local Norfolk ghost hunters.
Oh, wow.
And the tour was also put on by Anne and Renata from Frightfully Good. It was a really, really good week.
Did anything odd happen?
Yeah, we did. We did have a few weird things happen. There are a couple of legends. Like one of the ones is there is a red coat, because it was a penal colony. It has a prison and and quite a rich history with a prison. A red coat would catch a ride in people's cars because they can't be bothered walking up the hill. So we went to a place called Bloody Bridge and we decided to try out some equipment and just do a little investigation. So we left the car door open so anyone could come in. And then it started to rain. I thought, we better close the door because we don't want to have water all in the car. So I walked all the way back from the side of Bloody Bridge and went to close the door. And I had this sudden feeling that there was someone watching me. And then as I closed the door, I had sort of this flash of, not a red coat, but like, if you could imagine someone emaciated in like rags, like, what was it called, Castaway? Like Tom Hanks?
Oh, yes,
sort of looking guy.
Yes. Yeah.
And then,
wow.
Yeah, it was odd. I just got this vision of this guy in the back seat where I closed the car door, and I went back like, that's weird. And I mentioned it to Amy and Tess, and then we went back and we mentioned it to Anna and Renata, and they're like, that could have been Barney. Now, Barney is a guy that escaped the prison for 6 years, and he was living in a tree, a hole in a tree, and he used to go out at night and forage for all his food and things, steal it from the farms and everything, so that he could live. And I'm like, okay, that's
Barney.
Weird.
Oh, I love the way you kind of like talk about it very matter-of-factly, and I'm sitting here with tingles going, whoa. You know, somewhere that I mean, obviously I can't order you to do this, but I would love it though if you did. In Wellington, Mount Victoria is a very as part of the green belt. It has lots of tracks, and it's you can get lost there. There are so many. I don't think I've ever been on the same track twice. It's just a myriad of tracks and forest and everything. A lot of people have suicided on Mount Vic, and there have been times when I have been walking when I have heard. People, I've heard voices. I have a friend who is a psychic who has been stopped by various spirits, apparently, on Mount Vic. It'd be very interesting. Some very, very tragic and a lot of very tragic suicides have taken place on Mount Victoria. It would be kind of interesting to have you guys come down and investigate that.
Oh, we would love to do that. Is Mount Vic also the one, I'm not sure if it's a myth or not, but the pregnant lady got buried in the tunnel?
Yeah, in the tunnel. So her married lover, who was a scoundrel, murdered her and buried her in Mount Vic tunnel. Yes, so there's the tunnel and the actual Mount Vic. So the whole area, it also has the Fever Hospital on it, which is notoriously, I went in there once when it was empty, and oh man, that's a lot going on there. So that whole Mount Victoria area is a really interesting place, and it would be really cool to go with you through there and just see what you heard and what you felt, because it's as I said, a lot has happened on Mount Victoria and through that tunnel as well.
It sounds like really, really cool. I mean, we've done a couple mental hospitals before, Kingseat being one of them, one of the most notorious ones that we've been to. But yeah, it would be really cool to have a couple people come with us while we do it.
That'd be great.
A lot of the time, you just get a feeling of something's not quite right here, but you don't actually get any, I guess, evidence, you could call it, until you go home and review hours of footage of nothing and hours of voice recordings of nothing, because you're so busy, setting up equipment. And usually it happens when you turn your back or you've gone downstairs, or you say if you're walking along the track, you don't realise you didn't see someone pop out from a tree or something,
Yeah, well, I think you might feel, because if I feel things, I think you guys will certainly feel things, because you're way more in tune than me. But I'm coming with you guys on your next visit to Kingseat. What do you do? I don't know if you know that, but so I'm coming with you because that is where my grandfather died, and I would be very interested to be there. But what do you do to set up? Like, do you what happens when we go there?
Well, usually before we start an investigation, we will take lots of photos. We'll start setting up based equipment. A lot of what Haunted Auckland does is capturing the history of places like Kingseat, because quite a few of those buildings, I don't know, if you know, they're going to end up pulling them down and building housing there. So we record a lot of history. But we also do this to get a feel for the place, like the noises of the building, the noises of the road, noises of, spookers potentially in the background, to sort of get a feel for the place. Then we'll look at trigger objects, like what do we think would attract someone from Kingseat 50 years ago or 30 years ago. What would make them interact with us and our equipment? We generally do pretty basic setup, so we don't complicate things.
Right.
With the history and, electric shock therapy, a lot of, entities or spirits probably won't interact with you if you've got a whole lot of flashing lights and electronics. So it depends on the place, how we set up and what trigger objects we use. And we usually do a couple communication sessions. So we'll sit down and we'll try and have a conversation with spirits or entities. We try to treat it respectfully, as if they're someone that has passed away in our family, rather than try and invoke rage and run around with GoPros and screaming and all that. That's not what we do.
No, and I think because as I mentioned, my grandfather passed away there, and I would really love to just see if I feel anything, or if not, that's fine too. But I'm really keen to just see what happens. So
have you been up there before?
No.
Have you been through?
No.
Quite an eerie place. It's sort of like a mixture of like a mental hospital mixed with people still living there, mixed with sort of urbex exploring, abandoned buildings and derelict bits and pieces around the place. It's quite a full site. It's just unfortunate.
I think
what happened there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I'm getting emotional now just talking about it. I think for me, it's I would certainly be doing it respectfully, and I'm getting just teary thinking about coming. So I will try not to cry too much. But so I'm really looking forward to that. And thank you so much for your time. And as I said, it's really interesting talking to a sciencey, engineering person about something that's usually associated with people with, owls and shawls and crystal balls. So thanks so much, Natasha.
Well, thank you for having me. And if you need to cry, just let it all out. It's about healing yourself as well. Potentially making connection there. So, no judgment.
Thank you, Natasha. And we will chat with you again really soon and see you really soon.
Yes, well, thank you, Polly, for having on your show. It was really exciting, and I've been looking forward to it all day.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to meeting you in person as well, and maybe setting up some sort of expedition or investigation at Mount Vic.
I think Mount Vic is something that we really need to talk about. I'll chat with you guys when I'm there and explain a bit more. But I think that's something that that could be very interesting for you guys. So thank you again, and have a wonderful night, and we'll catch up really soon.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you, Natasha. Have a great night.
You too, Polly.
Bye.
Bye.
Polly.